course, let's go through the ingredients for this chocolate and marshmallow tear and share bread. Oh, this is so lovely, this bread. This bread is made in 3 stages. So I'm just going to go through the ingredients for stage 1. So first of all, we need some strong bread flour. So 500 Gs of strong bread flour. I use white bread flour. Okay. Then we need 300 mils of milk. 300 mils of milk. We need 75 Gs of caster sugar. 50 grams of butter. I'm using unsalted butter. One sachet of instant dried yeast, so that's about 7 grams of dried yeast, but it's got to be the instant. And then a teaspoonful of salt, 5 grams of salt, and a good tablespoon of ground cinnamon. Now you can use mixed spice if you want to, anything that's got that Christmassy smell to it. So those are the ingredients for stage 1. So for stage 2, the ingredients for stage 2 of this process, we need 60 grams of mini marshmallows. You can use big ones, you just need to cut them up. And we need 135 grams of chocolate chips or chocolate buttons. You can use slab chocolate, you just need to cut it up. And for step 3 or stage 3 ingredients, we need 100 grams of melted butter. I will obviously melt this a little bit later on. And 125 grams of soft brown sugar. Now we need to bake this monkey bread at 180 degrees C for a conventional oven and 160 degrees C for a fan oven, which is gas mark 4. And it needs to go in for between 35 and 40 minutes. So the tools that I'm going to use are these. So this is the pan I'm going to use. It's called a loose-bottomed springform pan. So I can take this pan to bits totally. I would suggest that you use a loose-bottomed pan because you can get pans that are just loose-bottomed but are not springform. But if you can get hold of one of these, it's even better. This is a very gooey bread, so quite difficult to get out of an ordinary baking pan. So you'll need one of these, or certainly a loose-bottomed pan. I've not tried it in a silicone pan, so I can't say. There'll be links at the bottom anyway for all of these tools where you can get them. So that's that. This is 9 inches across, 23 centimeters across, so it's quite big. When I bake this, I'm going to put it on a baking tray. So I've just put some foil on the bottom of the baking tray, and this is because there's a lot of butter in this monkey bread. And as it bakes, the butter will seep through the bottom of this pan, which is fine. But this will just prevent your oven getting sticky, and the foil itself prevents your baking tray from getting sticky. So if you've got a loose bottom pan, which I suggest you do have, put it on a baking tray when you bake it. So if you have a stand mixer with a dough hook like this, you'll find that kneading the bread is really, really easy. I'm going to be kneading it by hand today, just in case there's anybody watching that doesn't have a stand mixer. But if you do have one with this dough hook, this will be a piece of cake. I've got a thermometer just to take the temperature of my milk. I've got to get the milk up to about 40 degrees, so it's hand hot. They go for any fluid with yeast is a good temperature to get the yeast active. And I've just got a pastry brush, silicone pastry brush, and here a little offset spatula knife. But to be honest, any knife will do. First of all, we need to rub our butter into our flour. And when you can feel it starting to go in, and just add your sugar. And put your cinnamon through too. Or your mixed spice or whatever spice you're using, Christmassy spices. And then when it's all in, you can add your salt. But what you need to do, you need to add your salt one side of the bowl, just in one corner, and add your yeast in a pile the other side of the bowl. The reason is, if the salt and the yeast get together at this point, the salt will kill the yeast. So make sure it's one side for the salt and one side for the yeast. So next up, I'm just going to get my milk to 40 degrees Celsius. So I should just pop this in the microwave. So we don't want to get the milk too hot. So I'm just going to do this for 30 seconds at a time. And just give it a stir, because sometimes the microwave cooks more on the outside than the inside. So after 30 seconds, this is 35 degrees. So it's going to go in for another 30 seconds. And the temperature, I don't know if you can see this, the temperature this time has gone up to 42.5. Just going to let this drop down maybe 1 degree and then add it to my flour and sugar and cinnamon mixture. So my milk's at temperature. I'm going to pour it onto the yeast side of my bowl. Just pour it over the yeast side of my bowl first, and then mix it in, pour it all in. And then I'm going to use my little spatula to get this started. Start mixing it. Oh, the smell, you can smell the cinnamon already. It's wonderful. Now it will start to look like a bit of a sticky mess, and then it tends to get more dough-like. As I say, you could put it in the mixer at this point and add the milk in and let the mixer do its thing. So when it's like this now, I need to put some more flour on my board. So again, this is strong plain flour, bread flour. Put some on my board. Right, so you can see this dough is quite sticky and kind of looks a bit like scone mixture at the minute, but we want to get this smooth. So now we've got to knead this for about 10 minutes. So it will be sticky, but as you knead it, it will start to be more elastic and smooth, less sticky. So we just knead this now for a good 10 minutes. But again, if you've got a stand mixer with a dough hook, that takes all the work out of it for you. So you just pick it up at the bottom, roll it over and push it in like this. Another way of kneading is just with the heel of your hand as well. So you can pick up and push in with the heel of your hand, this bit. So after 10 minutes, you can see that this has now become really soft and stretchy and smooth. That's after 10 minutes, either hand kneading or kneading in a stand mixer. So now all I'm going to do is pop it in my bowl, back in my bowl, tiny bit of flour at the bottom, stop it from sticking, bit of flour on the top. So when you've finished kneading it, pop it in a bowl, cover it with some cling film and leave it for an hour. This dough has risen, now it's an hour later, and what we're going to do is cut this into about 16 pieces. So this is really simple to do. Just use a sharp knife or some kind of blade, and each piece, they don't have to be exact, just as long as you cut them in about 16. So now we've got our 16, and I'm just going to knead it open, knead each of them, just to give them like a little second kneading. So now we've kneaded them and turned them into little balls. Now we're going to put in our marshmallows and our chocolate chips. So each of these now we spread out, doesn't matter if it rips a bit, and in the middle we'll put a few marshmallows and some chocolate chips. You won't get over many in there, you won't get too many in there. If they come out, that's fine. Bring it together and try and twist it a bit in the middle. So the next thing I want to do is to melt this butter and get the sugar to dissolve into the butter as much as I can. So I'm going to pop this butter in the microwave, not for long, probably about 20 seconds, stir in the sugar and just keep stirring the sugar until it starts to dissolve. Butter's been in the microwave now for about 40 seconds, and I'm just going to put some of this sugar in here and try and get it to dissolve. You just want to be very careful that the sugar doesn't start to burn. So back in for another 30 seconds. And you can see the sugar that's in there started to bubble up a bit. And I'm going to put the rest of the sugar in. And that's ready now to just spread on the buns when we put them in the tin. So now all that's left to do is to put these little dough balls in the tin. So if you start just around the outside first, we're going to try and get them all in one layer around this tin, because that's how they cook better, if they're just in one layer. So not quite possible with these, but and then all we need to do now is just going to brush this over the top of these dough balls. You can be quite liberal with this. This will give them quite a crusty top. And if you do have any chocolate buttons or mini marshmallows left over, you can just drop them on the top at this stage if you wanted to. If you felt there was too much sugar in it, you could reduce the quantity of sugar and butter in this bowl. And you could also reduce the quantity of marshmallows and chocolate. So the crucial mix is to get the dough right. So those are the quantities that I would not suggest you change. But if you wanted to make this less sweet, then you could change the quantity of the butter and the sugar, the brown sugar, and you could change the quantity of the marshmallows and the chocolate. Now, I'm not going to put all that on because I know that I'm going to be eating this one and not giving it to my larger family. So I'm going to leave it like that. All I do now, we cover it either with cling film or I'm going to use a damp tea towel this time. And I shall leave it for an hour to prove. So these buns have been proving for their second prove now, and it's an hour later, and they've doubled in size. So I'm now going to pop these in a preheated oven. So I've had my oven on to get up to temperature, and my oven's a fan oven, so 160 for about 40 minutes. And there you have it, monkey bread just out of the oven. Looks, smells delicious. So I'm just going to take it out of this pan. That's the beauty of a springform pan. Straight out. And I'm going to leave that in there to cool. You could, if you wanted to, just drizzle some caramel sauce or chocolate sauce across the top of this to give it a bit more sweetness, but I'm going to leave it just as it is. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you do have a go at making this monkey bread, do feel free just to pop up some pictures. Okay then, bye bye for now. Bye.